Live to another news conference. Bridget McKenzie, Josh Frydenberg and also Dave Sharma holding a news conference at the SCG. Let's have a listen in.
1,000. And so for the partnership between the Sydney Swans and the New South Wales Swifts to be recognised and these facilities to be used by both iconic clubs, I think is a great pathway and a great example of what's possible in partnership. So I'm looking forward to seeing it roll out and the athletes to come. Tom.
Thank you, Bridget. On behalf of the Sydney Swans and the New South Wales Swifts, the Go Foundation, the Clontarf Foundation, the Red Cross Blood Bank, all partners in this really exciting project. We thank the federal government, in particular, Treasurer Mr Josh Frydenberg, Minister for Sport Bridget McKenzie, and the Liberal candidate for Wentworth, Dave Sharma, for supporting this project. It's been a long time coming for the Sydney Swans. I know the board has worked tirelessly over a number of years to find a solution to house our club. Our whole club, and our club that's growing at an enormous rate with the youth girls coming through at the moment, all under the one roof, which we can now do as part of the Royal Hall of Industries just down the road. It's a real stake in the ground for a club here in Sydney. We moved here in 1982, coming up to 40 years, obviously, and to actually have a home next to our iconic Sydney cricket ground where we play our home games as well is a huge achievement for the code. As the Minister for Sport touched on, this facility does really provide a cradle-to-grave outcome for not only the Swans but the Swifts, and we can't wait to see the young boys and girls come through our program and ultimately represent the Swans both in men's and women's in the future, don the red and white and be the heroes of the next generations of fans to come. So on behalf of everyone involved with the Royal Hall of Industries project, we thank the federal government for their contribution, and we look forward to it coming to fruition in readiness for the 2021 season.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you.
And we'll take questions first on this particular project, if there are any questions.
So it seems like it's been quite a long time to get a women's team up and running here, only one shower. Maybe this has been thought of maybe a bit sooner, a bit earlier, so we can get a red women's team on the field?
Look, I don't think this ground is alone. As Sports Minister, I've travelled the highways and byways from the Yarrawonga Pigeons to the SCG and everywhere in between right across this country. And as I said, the tsunami of interest in typically male-dominated sports has led to a real dearth of infrastructure available at club levels right throughout the pathway. And that's why our government in the last budget handed down $30 million specifically for community sporting infrastructure grants. The demand was so high, we put $30 million on the table and I got $400 million worth of applications. And so thankfully the Treasurer heard the call and we extended that to over $100 million for community sporting infrastructure, and then announced maybe 2 weeks ago an additional $150 million specifically for female change rooms in response to this need. Because young women shouldn't be getting changed in the car. They should be able to participate fully in club life, which means having a shower and then scoring the next game, or helping out in the canteen, or reffing, performing those other jobs and volunteer roles throughout the community, watching the seniors play, because it's being involved in a club and that sense of belonging and identity that gives you those additional benefits that we know come from participating in sport.
And can I say that in addition to this announcement, Bridget and the Prime Minister and I have been making announcements, for example, in Victoria, with Icon Park and the announcement there in Brisbane for the Brisbane Lions and the work that's being done there with their women's team, as well as in Adelaide and elsewhere. So right around the country we are investing in women's sport, and importantly, as Bridget said, it's something the Prime Minister is very passionate about, being a father of two young girls, ensuring that women right across our country, in the small clubs and in the big clubs, they get access to proper changing rooms, so that they don't have to, as they've in my electorate recently, they've had to put a white bed sheet across the middle of the particular put a white bed sheet across the middle of their changing rooms, so women get changed on one side and men on the others. In modern Australia, that's not on. That's why we're investing over $100 million in new facilities for women so that they can have their own changing rooms.
I think that's the important thing to recognise, is that there's over 1.8 million Australians volunteer in sport every every week across this country. That's a lot of sausages at Bunnings that you're going to have to cook on a Saturday rather than score the game, mark out the lines, etc., wash the uniforms, to actually get young people and older people out on the court or the field. So what we've been able to do as a government is actually partner with clubs right throughout the sporting ecosystem to make sure it's less time at Bunnings on sausage sizzle duty and more time in your clubs participating in sport and volunteering.
Any other football questions? About the Sydney Swans or...
It's just another issue that's been an ongoing one at the SCG this year is drop-in...
You in the middle, they want...
Oh, right, OK. I might not do... Yep.
Question of drop-in pitches.
OK.
There's a drop-in pitch...
I could play on one of those, but I'm not sure I... Yep.
Yeah, we've got one in Melbourne and Adelaide and Perth and all the other major grounds. Is it something that you would support at the SCG to...
Well, I think I'll leave that to Tom, maybe, because Tom, obviously, dropping pitches would affect your footy ground, I suppose.
It's a matter for the SCG
Trust. It's a matter for the SCG Trust. I think what we do know... And,
otherwise known as a hot potato, is it?
No. We obviously, the SCG at the moment, going through redevelopment next door at Allianz Stadium, has put significant stress on the turf here. We know that we're a key and valued tenant of the SCG. We work collaboratively with them on all sorts of matters. We've experienced drop-in wickets at the MCG in Adelaide Oval, and I think what we want ultimately is to our home ground to be showcased in its best possible light on the world stage, and we'll work with the SCG to ensure that happens.
Any other football questions?
Sporty questions? Okay. We might get the athletes to
Is that right? We don't have to subject you to...
We'll move to the side.
OK.
Sally.
OK. Other questions of the day?
Treasurer, when it comes to water, Barnaby Joyce is defending the decision to buy $80 million worth of water with taxpayer money. Now, that didn't go out to tender. It was a private deal. Are you backing him in and saying that that's not an issue at all? He says that Labor's claims are horse crap. But are you going to release the documents to show that there was nothing untoward with the deal?
Well, firstly, documents have been released. The second thing to say is the government's been purchasing backwater for the environment since 2007 and following departmental advice. And I point out that the Labor Party did this. Back in 2008, they spent over $300 million buying back water, and they took departmental advice, which is what we have done here. The added point here is this is a project, this is an initiative that was recommended by the Queensland government. So paperwork has been released. The Labor Party is throwing dirt. They want to distract from the real issue of this campaign, which is who do the Australian people trust to manage the economy. They know that under the coalition, growth has been higher, unemployment has been lower, and people's taxes have been cut. The same cannot be said for the Labor Party's record on the economy.
Aren't you just passing, you mentioned before, a hot potato? Isn't this what you're treating this issue like? Because Labor said that all of their sales went out to tender. Their accusation is this was done behind closed doors, and that's what the issue is.
Well, the department has strongly defended the process in this case, and obviously the decision. And as Barnaby Joyce made clear, he's taken departmental advice. As has been pointed out, the Queensland government backed this particular project.
Just on wages, Treasurer.
We'll leave that there. Josh Frydenberg, the Treasurer, taking questions now on the water buyback plan.